Right, welcome everyone to our Cabinet meeting. All members are present apart from Erin, who is still on maternity leave. Minutes of the previous meeting. Agreed? Yeah. Any members got interest to declare? There are two items that are in private session, but they are mentioned in public session, and when we get to that point, if members do want to refer to the notes, which I'm sure everyone has read, in the private session, we'll have to go into private session. Otherwise, we can deal with the items in the public part and don't have to exclude the public. Deputation to petitions, have we got any? None. Public question times, have we got no public here, so we can't have any public question times. Members, question times, John, no questions, no? Right, move to item 8, recommendation special needs, educational needs. Is that...
Thank you, Chair. The report submits proposals for Cabinet approval for utilising the DFE capital funding. Proposals are based on outcomes for the high needs review. The additional capital funding is not sufficient to address all the improvements needed to strengthen local provision where it is needed. The allocation for Kirklees is just over 1 million. Priority areas have been identified to make improvements at these three local provisions. Ravensall School to construct additional classrooms to reduce class size and enable the school to meet the more complex needs of children, and also to improve storage space for mobility equipment and alleviate overcrowding in the dining hall. Newsham High School to improve teaching spaces and develop the existing space to create accessible toilets, also to improve storage space in the physical impairment facility. Holney High School to support students with ASD by creating a designated space for small group work, one-to-one support and breakout space to meet the significant and specific social and communication needs of these students. A visionary event was held with schools, key partners and providers to discuss key themes emerging from the review and to plan how we can better meet need across the system to support our children and young people with special education needs locally. A high needs strategy will be produced with a supporting action plan to demonstrate how improvements can be implemented. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I also support this report. When I first heard that there was some specialist provision capital fund, I was near to excited, because I am deeply aware that within Kirklees we have some of our most vulnerable children who need high levels of support, and we don't have sufficiency within the authority. In fact, we have a substantial number of children who have to go out of area for that provision, and I had hoped that this capital fund would supply enough capital in order to develop what we do need to support our vulnerable children. Unfortunately, it doesn't, and just over 1 million sounds a lot of money. It isn't as much as we require, but the other problem with this funding is that it's split into three lumps, if you like, tranches, I think is the word that's used, and it is dripped out one lump sum at a time, and one has to complete on that capital fund before you can get the second lot. So it really doesn't meet the more serious needs of some of our young people, but I have to welcome anything that supports the three schools that have been highlighted.
Any further comments? Can we all welcome this report? With the caveat that we could do with some more brass? All agreed? Yes. Thank you. Can we move on to item 9? Which one of you is moving it?
This report seeks approval for a programme of road resurfacing schemes for 2018 and 19. The summary of schemes is available on page 16 and details the work in the report and shown in the attached plans. Utility companies will be asked to complete their routine maintenance prior to the schemes commencing. This is to ensure that roads are not dug up again after the resurfacing, unless of course there's an emergency. Any delays and disruption will be minimised where possible such as working off-peak times and twilight shifts. In addition to improving road services, many of the schemes include various other benefits such as alleviating congestion, having a positive impact on air quality, minor footway repairs and drainage repairs, and improving road safety. These schemes support the National Asset Management Strategy Network and allows the authority to meet the criteria for Level 3 Highways Efficiency Self-Assessment. The incentive fund introduced in April 2016 is a system of penalisation and limits the council from making decisions on a local needs basis. We are faced with penalties, loss of reputation and possible loss of ad hoc grants if the criteria for the incentive fund are not met. In practice, this means that limited resources are directed to the maintenance, are directed away from residential streets to the principal roads such as A, B and C roads. Under this regime, a council loses its ability to respond to residents' requests to fix streets in total disrepair. As you can see from page 16, 2.1, the backlog of repairs for residential streets is increasing. Basically, I'm saying we've got no choice.
Is this report seconded? All seconded. Any comments, questions? All agreed? Thank you very much. Going to move on to item 10, the 2-year highway capital plan.
Okay, thank you. The investment decisions in the Highways Capital Plan supports the National Asset Management Strategy Network. This will mitigate against any loss of funding through the government's incentive element. The incentive element is dependent on the authority's pursuit of efficiencies and its use of asset management practices. In practice, this limits the amount of capital that can be allocated to repairing and maintaining some of the worst roads in Kirklees. However, we are left with no choices but to comply with the National Asset Management Strategy. It is disappointing that the Department of Transport National Pothole Action Fund has been reduced by 30% from 2017-18 to 2018-19. I am pleased, however, that the Council has continued to successfully secure the Environment Agency grant for flood studies and to extend its understanding of local flood risk, therefore allowing us to roll a programme of repairs and improvements to ensure households and businesses are safe against the risks of floods.
Comments? Seconded? Yes, sure, you can, yes. Could somebody formally second it first? Seconded.
Sorry. The question is how we've arrived at the schemes, particularly for the unclassified list. Is it sort of done on the Council's priority order? And if it was, has there been any review of that? Because I know that they do a rolling programme of looking at several of the roads, and there was a bit of a query about that last time they looked at it. So I just wondered how you'd arrived at that list being the worst, and that's how they should be resurfaced.
I believe there are some other changes coming forward in terms of our risk assessment, and that's a government directive as well in terms of our risk assessments for our roads. However, the way the unclassified roads are then prioritised within that category, broadly, roads are deemed into 3 categories. Say green, for example, if they're really good, amber, they need some repair soon, and red are the worst ones. Now, we can't actually fix the worst ones. We have to work on a resurfacing programme on the amber ones, and that's part of the government's efficiency asset management programme. And if we don't follow that, then we face penalties. Now, nationally, we're ending up in a situation where some roads are just becoming worse, whilst the number of roads improving is increasing, but so are the worst roads nationally because of this policy.
So if I understand this correctly, if we've got red roads that are unclassified in our wards because the government isn't putting any money into unclassified roads, I know there's a very small budget within Kirklees for that, what you're saying is they're not going to get touched? So the worst roads in Kirklees are not going to get any work, apart from the patches repottled, repatched?
Yeah, I think you missed the explanation of the previous item.
Ah, well I did, sorry, I was on my way in.
I think what we're saying, that the regime that the government says is not only does it say it's not giving you money for unclassified roads, if you do spend money in unclassified roads, we'll take some of the other money we gave you for classified roads away. We'll penalise you for spending money on unclassified roads because we want you to spend all the money on classified roads. So the government scheme is a scheme of penalties. So if you don't follow our instructions of where to spend it, we will take some of the money we've already allocated to you away. That's what you said.
Having half the amount of money since 2010. In fact, it was halved up to 2015, and you can see on page 43 that even that is being paid back from 6 million to 4.9 million.
So, I know I'm not on the cabinet and this isn't my meeting, but from what you're saying is, if you spend money, I mean, I have some of the worst roads in Kirklees in my ward. I mean, it's basically getting to the point where you can't drive on them without a four-wheel drive, and even then it's, you know, getting difficult. What we're actually hearing today is that if the council spends money on those roads, we're going to have money taken off us for doing other roads.
If you don't spend it on the roads that the government decides a priority, if you don't spend it on the roads that the government decides a priority or the category, then you will be penalised. Yeah, so the government not merely minimises your ability to respond, it then dictates how, with its limited resource, you spend it.
Right.
It is extremely difficult to understand the logic behind that, or to accept it. It's an incredible system, but that's where we are.
My ghast has been flabbered.
Councillor Turner, I'm quite happy to send you some studies and information with regards to what's happening nationally in terms of our roads.
I know this isn't a comments thing, but I just think the public kind of out there need to know that the roads are just going to end up worse and worse and worse. I think it's just unbelievable.
Can I just make a technical point? Can you ask whoever's doing these papers in the future to just go for a slightly larger font? Because my vanity is stopping me from going into my briefcase to fetch my +1 glasses out. And I can just manage to squint and read this bit. But I'll get to the stage where my arms aren't long enough to be able to read it. So can we just ask in the future that there's something we can read? With that, anyone else want to comment on it? I mean, I think, as you all know, there's lots and lots of discussion going about pothole filling. But we are potholing now. We are patching patches. And it's the same for the entire country. I think that all the motoring organisations are coming out the same. This philosophy of not spending money on infrastructure, not doing our roads up, it can't be sustained by patching because it just doesn't work. As you say, Nicola, I mean, there are some roads that's becoming unpassable because of the... Yeah. So, I mean, I think that with that caveat, I mean, I think we approve that because we've got to spend the money. We need to spend every penny we're allowed to spend to make the roads better, but we've got to recognise that's leaving many roads with no spending whatsoever, and we're just chasing our tails by just patching patches. It's an absolutely ridiculous situation we're in, and I think we all should be stating it as much as we can and trying to get it changed. All agreed? Thank you very much. Going to move on to item 11, Risk Management Service Statement. I think this is just for me to move. Does anyone want to make any comments on it? Please do. All agreed? Item 12, Outline Proposals for Social Care Support.
So this paper proposes a number of broad areas of investment of the funds and reflecting a one-off nature of funding to better support vulnerable individuals who need social care and support. So we will be investing these monies, and this was the 1.6 million from the Leeds City region, which was additional resource that was available for 18-19, and it was also the 1.16 million financial settlement that we didn't find out until after. So this was announced by the government on the 7th of February. So we will be investing this money in equipment for assistive technology. This includes assistive technology, that's GPS tracking devices for people with dementia and people with learning difficulties. This enables positive risk-taking whilst providing family members with reassurance that they can be found if they were not people, if you didn't have our resources looking after them for 24 hours. There's also the Just Checking system. This is a series of sensors that we'll be looking to invest in, where people can live an independent life. It actually lets you know if the individual has left the property, they've got up during the night, if they haven't had their food, and different range of things like that. There's also a range of equipment that we will be looking at, which is for specialist hoists, posture chairs and turning devices, which is definitely needed in this area. It can support people to have that have more limited mobility, and it supports them with fewer care staff as well. So that's an area of assisted technology. But I'll also be looking at staffing capacity to balance the day-to-day activities in the transformation. So we'll be investing the money in frontline staff, such as social workers, occupational therapists, to help reduce the day-to-day pressures, minimise the delays for individuals whilst transformation takes place. We will particularly want to test out using occupational therapists in a different way that helps maximise people's independence. We're also looking that we want to invest to support to develop a more sustainable care market. The challenges on this one-off funding is that we cannot support a recurrent investment in the rates that are paid to the providers. The Council has invested, however, at its own expense in the increasing rates of paid home care providers and residential providers to help them meet the additional cost of the national living wage. We'll be working with the two CCGs to enhance our existing approach of supporting care providers, to recruit and retain staff and to maintain and improve their quality. There's also specialist accommodation. We will be investing money to ensure that we can attract high-quality organisations to develop new accommodation locally in order for young people and adults with complex needs to remain in Kirklees or return back to Kirklees rather than being put outside the area. We will look at opportunities to invest in order to speed up this development in the extra care housing market. And managing the demand. Our programme is the transformation, and it's focused on maximising independence and reducing the demand. This is the right thing to do, and it does not detract from the needs of the long-term sustainable funding solution to care and to reduce the fragility of what the whole system is at the moment. So we'll be supporting that area. And on a final note, I'd like to say that the reality is that the Sustainability Fund, there is a solution that is required, and we need to continue to lobby this government. This one-off funding is not going to be refused by us, but it needs something sustainable, something that's going year on year, that we know that we're going to be able to provide things. So I'm moving this paper and ask our fellow Cabinet members to support me.
Can I just ask about the special accommodation? I've an interest in that. Do we have any timescales of that kind of work, of the project that we have in mind there? And do we have any idea of how we can prioritise Kirklees on land to speed this up? Because if it's in our own possession, then it makes things quicker. Please.
I just want to comment on how this has come about, that this paper has come to us today about one-off funding, because the 1.16 was announced after we set the budget. So the government announced there was a 1.16. The 1.6 is an estimate of what we're hoping to get passed in November time. And to be honest with you, we took a deliberate decision that, yes, we could have, there were amendments to just reduce the rates to hold the increase in rates up for a year, but we think that the social care is so important to move things forward that we decided we wanted to spend that 1.6 million. Now, it isn't going to reserves, it is going into things that we think will affect the future outcome for people. And it's obviously, some of the areas are really, the waiting lists in some areas are so incredible. And I think we've got to emphasise as well is that anything we're doing for social care has a massive effect on the NHS. Because keeping people, it's essential that we keep the people at home as long as possible, which they want to be. We want to keep them out of hospital, and we also want to keep them out of care homes. I think, as Viv keeps pointing out to everyone, it's not her ambition to end her life in a care home. We're trying to arrange that she doesn't. But, yes, should be here.
Yes, thank you, Chair. No, I think, Dave, you raised a valid point going back to the Budget Council. There was a proposal to actually delay the 1% precept, and we're all very clear that there's a massive need, not just locally but nationally, a £2 billion backlog in adult social care. Now, if the budget didn't go through as we wanted it to go through, which it did go through, we would not be here actually trying to address the issues that we are in terms of trying to actually meet the demand and supply. So I'm really pleased that Cathy's done all this work to actually get up a plan that's up and running to actually start to address the issues that have been identified. Because the issues are massive. This is not going to solve the problem, but it goes some way to actually addressing the issues that we are facing. Thanks, Chair.
Can I just add that it is important that, yes, this is the outline plan, but I think we do, as Cathy's added to this by giving us some of the details what it actually means. I think as that is formulated, that needs to be reported to councillors fully about what we are spending that. And I think we should be asking councillors as well for ideas within these criteria that as John mentioned about homes, I think we should be asking councillors as well to contribute to any ideas that within these criteria that would help us in the future.
Yeah, just to say, it is just not enough, is it? And it's never going to be enough. And I think looking at what it's being spent on, you know, the investment in technology and equipment will help a certain block of people. Once that money's spent and those people have got that equipment, what about the next block of people and the next block of people after that? So it's an absolutely impossible and difficult situation, and you know, 1.6 million or 1.16 or however much you spend when you need 10 million is just never going to be enough. It's like sticking a sticking plaster on when really you need your legs stitched up properly. So the whole adult social care thing, I think, is a debate that we've got to have with government, and it's going to be an ongoing debate with both, you know, the NHS and everything else. So I think we just have to be a little bit careful.
Can I just emphasise the point that about the rural demand on social care? Myself and Graham have we meet with the parish councillors, and all of the parish councillors turn up, and we're trying to emphasise that keeping villages alive means keeping people in the villages, and if there isn't the sort of housing that is required for older people that can be supported, then villages are going to suffer from it. So I think that should be mindful when people are objecting to planning applications about putting the real sort of housing into villages and into rural areas. Because we all talk about the urban areas, but we have real difficulty in getting care to people in the rural areas, and we need to reflect that.
Sorry, just to say about that, I mean, I think it's absolutely fundamentally important. I mean, I represent a ward where we've got a lot of people live out on the hillsides who are really struggling with lack of public transport, isolation issues, in big houses that they don't actually want to live in. But there are very, very limited numbers of sort of shelter-type houses in the valley bottoms, and actually very few planning applications have come forward. They're much more likely to be your big houses that these people, you don't want to retire to, or you can't afford to. So, I mean, I would welcome, there are several plots of lands, you know, Mars and Slafford and Linthwaite, which actually would be ideal for this kind of accommodation. They just aren't coming forward. You know, the brownfield sites, we need to help and support them to be developed. And at the moment, we're not kind of doing that. And I would welcome that opportunity to allow those people to come down and live in those village centres, and other people to take over the other houses.
Can we all look forward to the details as they come forward, and welcome this paper? And work on the details, and ask for any suggestions to come forward to us to help us on this plot. Yes. Thank you very much. All agreed? Yeah. Thank you. Can we move on to the North Kirklees Growth Zone? Is that you, Peter?
I'll move it, Chair. The North Kirklees Growth Zone is the blueprint for the regeneration of Dewsbury. And this paper is about an update on the key interventions, the key programmes, which will be truly transformational. It refers to our two main housing sites, Chidswell on one hand, Riverside on the other, and it specifically talks about a £22 million bid to bring initially 240 of those 4,000 houses into operation, which will be so the moment that the local plan comes into operation. Similarly, with the developers at Chidswell, it means the site for housing and industry can be delivered quickly when the local plan is approved. We approved investments to improve the station access. That's already approved, it's going ahead. As far as our main links, which also enhance the two major sites, the link to Huddersfield on the one hand, the A644 and the A653 link to Leeds, they're key interventions, key programmes in the West Yorkshire transport fund. So that money, the money for those is assured. There's also a reference to the historic buildings, a scheme with Historic England to improve and enhance key buildings, part of our heritage, some of which will be to encourage living within those buildings. And also a programme to complement what's already been spent on Pioneer House to improve the public realm there, which also includes the market. We've got another programme there which will be come into operation in a year's time. In the meantime, we're having major consultation with the public to find out what would exactly be the right scale, the right type and the right mode for the market in the future. So there's details of major programmes there which will be come into operation over the next 6-9 months, or most of them will.
I'd like, in seconding this report, I'd like to recommend that... I'd like to recommend that members actually do read this very detailed report. Progress to date has been set out from 2.5 to 2.12. And we are asking that the Service Directors of Economy and Housing be authorised to enter into negotiations with Miller Homes with a view to disposal of the council land assets detailed in Appendix D. The final terms of that negotiation and any disposal of assets being subject to a further report. The above-named directors also be authorised to enter into negotiation with Miller Home in respect of the Memorandum of Understanding as detailed in Appendix A of this report. And in relation to Dewsbury Town Centre, resources of 290,000 be approved to support the contributions to implement the Dewsbury Better Space Public Realm Scheme at Pioneer House. The Service Directors be authorised to progress the Dewsbury Better Space Public Realm Scheme at, as mentioned by Councillor McBride, Pioneer House as detailed in Section 5.17, and Cabinet agrees to support the Heritage Zone for Dewsbury and provide match funding of 2 million as detailed in sections 5.20 to 5.27, and the service directors be authorised to finalise the details of the HAS delivery plan with Heritage England and to negotiate the Memorandum of Understanding with Historic England for delivery of the HAS programme as outlined in Appendices A to E. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I welcome the news that Cabinet's commitment to support the Dewsbury Town Centre, Heritage Zone, and also all the initiatives that are taking place. The only concern I have is, whilst the areas have been plotted, I was worried about a particular street area that front-facing, it looks good. It's the back street that's going to become a ghetto if we're not careful. I welcome the initiative that, you know, people and the change in town centres where people are moving in and living in the town centres and it's becoming a more family-orientated place, but I don't want us to lose sight of the back streets that some of them might cause us some problem, but brilliant news.
Can I join the welcome for this report and point in particular the bit about the heritage zone in Dewsbury? But, I mean, I think a lot of people, if they really take a look at Dewsbury, there are some fantastic buildings in Dewsbury and some that need a bit of care. Now, what I am concerned about is that the people who have joined us and put match funding in, I think it's on the one opposite the Market Arcade, or the pizza place, is it on Corporation Street? Yes, Corporation Street. People, the individuals have done up their shops, and yet the one next door who doesn't take up the grant lets the whole street down. And I think, as Cathy pointed out, and we're particularly facing the marketplace, some of the shop owners there seem to treat the pavement as a tipping ground. So I think for the members of businesses who put money in to help this 2 million grant and put their 2 million in, I think we've got a duty to make sure that the ones who are not contributing don't get away with spoiling it for everyone else. So I think we've got to really take action about people who are not participating and not lifting the town up, and particularly absent landlords, particularly when we've got an arcade that is empty by someone who's in Bolton, I think it is, or Wigan, somewhere in Lancashire, who just leaves an arcade empty and lets it go to rot. That's a blot on the town. I think we've got to really think about how we can tackle these sort of people. Peter.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to support and welcome the report and the excellent work that Cabinet have been doing with it, and also echo what Kathy's just said as well about the, and Chair as well, about the town centre. And I do know Pizza Go-Go, the pizza place that you're referring to, the Chinese place next to it, in terms of the shops looks fantastic, excellent contribution and work that's been put in. That's one shop that's making the rest of that road look a bit appalling. And yeah, I welcome the report, and also in terms of Councillor Mathers mentioning about the progress today in terms of Millers, in terms of the Dewsbury Riverside and the work that they're currently doing up in that area in terms of housing needs within that particular ward, and also looking at the railway station and the infrastructure, and as well as the roads. I feel there's still a lot of work to be done, but definitely welcome the report, and more so importantly the amount of money that's coming into Dewsbury as well. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Respond to the last three comment. Kathy's, you know, you refer to, yeah, what about the back street? I think you may remember we agreed at the last budget meeting that we're going to invest 45 million in towns, and something like half of that's going to go into Dewsbury. It's part of a major programme which Steve Jagger is working on in fine detail. So the money is there to be able to make the relevant interventions as and when. Your point's well made, Ned, and I do understand it. The other point that you're making, David, which is that, you know, the private sector has got to, you know, come to the table also and not neglect their areas and so on. As you know, we can't totally dictate, well, we can't determine that. We can encourage, we can, I was going to say bribe, provide incentives for people to match what we're doing. With regard to what Masood says, Miller Homes have been particularly good. They've worked with local communities, with local councillors to help design, but it shows if we own some of the land and work with developers, which is said in the paper, we can help shape the future, not just that number of houses, but what kind of houses, how, when and of what type. And that is being undertaken. So it's planned development as opposed to just more houses.
I just wanted to mention that sometimes it's forgotten how much work goes on in the background, and I think there is an item that we're going to come to, which is precisely the points we're making now at the moment, where everything's being done and a couple of shops left or one shop left, and how to persuade people to part with their hard-earned money, because it is hard times for all. But at the same time, our officers opening up opportunities as and when they arise and bidding for monies to bring into our district to regenerate our town centres. Thank you.
Just another technical point, that when we've got a report like this which is talking about the town centre, and some things have been done and some things haven't been done, yes, it's all right having a paper report in front of us, but because we've got the facilities here and we are webcasted, I think it's a good idea to have some pictures of Dewsbury to show us what we're to indicate to people what we are actually doing and what we're talking about. It makes it more easy for people to understand. So I think we should be in the future should be thinking about how we illustrate these reports. We don't have to put it in the paperwork, but we can put it on the screens and we can put it on the website, so people know what we're talking about. All in favour of this report? Sorry?
In relation to what David's just said, we have all that information, so it should be easy enough for us to demonstrate through illustrations of what we're talking about precisely.
Okay, all agreed? Thank you very much. Can I move on to item 14? And can I point out to members that even though you've read the papers that are in private session, please don't refer to them, because if you do, we'll have to exclude the public and the press.
Okay, Chair, thank you. This report is brought before Cabinet as is a change from the original report that was agreed by Cabinet back on the 20th of September 2016. As you mentioned, I'm sure the Cabinet has read the private report in today's pack. Significant progress has now been made so that the loan can be made direct to the single-purpose vehicle if it's secured by KSDL. Once the changes to the loan have been agreed, it is hoped that we can have shovels in the grounds this summer and the facility will be operational in late 2020. As we well know, this has been some time in getting to this point, but I am confident now that we are nearly there, and this will be a major asset to our residents and will attract visitors to Kirklees from far and wide. I would like to thank officers and those private sector companies that have worked very hard to get to the point where we can start to realise this project. It's a fantastic example of how the public and private sector working together can invest and create a fantastic facility for Kirklees. Chair, can I ask Cabinet to approve the private report and approve the recommendations on page 107, items 6A to 6D?
Councillor Bryan has declared an interest because he's a member of the on the board because for the council. That is seconded. All agreed? Thank you very much. Can I move on to item 15? Again, the same thing applies. There is a part of this paper in private session, and if members refer to that, we would have to exclude the public and press. But I'm sure you've all read it. Is that being moved?
Yeah, I'd like to welcome this report. Another fantastic initiative where business and the council have worked together. There's an opportunity here that hopefully, yet again, others will look and see there's, they can join this shop front and regenerate Dewsbury. And I'd just like to say that the regeneration of Dewsbury is on its way with the college coming on board. We've also got private investors that are also looking towards Dewsbury now, taking empty properties or making offers on them, but also making good with what they want to do with them. So I just welcome this, and I wish this business all the success. It's been a bit of support that they needed in order to bring a fantastic building back into use.
I noticed we have illustrated this one, but we obviously couldn't afford colour, so we've got a black. We have a black and white illustration of it, and it would be useful to have that back to us when we've got a before and after picture. So I think it does help to know what it does help when you've got an illustration to know what you're talking about.
And on this very point, we, as portfolio holders, saw fantastic pictures of before and after of the rest of the regeneration that's been going on in this street, and this is going to be consistent with the rest of the heritage that's been carried out. So I look forward to showing colleagues colour pictures next time.
I know, it's all right.
Well, you go away, babe.
No, it's fine. Again, I'd just like to echo what the Cabinet members have said in light of what Kathy's also said. I think in terms of the improvements that are being made in Dewsbury, obviously it's needed and it's well due. So obviously I'm really pleased that we've managed to get where we are, and the diagrams and the illustrations, pictures that Councillor Mathers mentioned look really good, and some of the shops actually do look really good as well. Thank you for that, Chair.
Thank you all. That closes the Cabinet meeting. We are now starting on the meeting of the Clayton West